The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the show. We're one day late on this podcast upload because we had a storm that knocked out power to our whole area. And I don't even know what else to say. It was. I think it surprised a lot of people, Louis. I lost power on Saturday around 6:30, and I didn't realize it was going to be as bad as it was. Everywhere in our area in Western Massachusetts, basically losing power. Well, not all of Western Massachusetts,
right,
but kind of the central Western Mass area. And the first night, took the candles out, you do the whole thing, and it was okay. I have electric heat, so the temperature started dropping. It still was, I think when I went to bed Saturday night, it was at like 63, which really isn't bad.
No.
And by the morning, it was down to 58, so it was tolerable. But then it kept dropping. And I had to leave. I ended up, all the hotels in the immediate area were booked. I ended up in Boston in a hotel, and then power was back, but it was too late to get back and do the show. Plus, we lost power here at the studio. How long did you lose power for in the end?
About 2.5 days.
Right. It wasn't even that much snow. I mean, we got about 8 inches of snow, but it was that it's so early in the season that the trees still had a ton of leaves on them. Plus, it was wet snow.
The wood isn't hard.
Yeah, tons of power lines were knocked down. Was this the one in Massachusetts? It has to have been the biggest power outage in recent history.
It's got to be, yeah.
And a lot of people still without power.
Right. There are estimates that some people will be without power for a week.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, when I was stuck at the bar when this was happening, when really the worst of it was happening.
Oh, yeah.
And this is an area where there is a ton of trees. It's just a very wooded area. And when you stepped outside and you listened, all you could hear was snapping and cracking and trees falling down.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It's amazing because you think, I've got the Facebook profile, and then I've got to make my food, and then there's doing my laundry, blah, blah, blah. Electricity goes out. Things become a lot simpler all of a sudden. Your priorities change right away. It's like, do I have to throw out all my food? Which, by the way, you should have seen me digging through my fridge yesterday, for sniffing everything, figuring out what needs to go. It was less than 48 hours, but I still got rid of all the meat and even some of the dairy because I just didn't, I don't know.
Me, I put a few things outside.
Oh, so I should have thought of that.
Yeah.
Didn't even cross my mind.
Put it right in the snow.
Huh. Why didn't I think of that?
I don't know.
I don't know what I'm doing, do I?
Yeah. It was great. I had the world's biggest refrigerator.
So, I actually, the whole incident reminded me of two things, and I know I've mentioned this before. One is I know some of our audience has also read the book Lucifer's Hammer, which is kind of a disaster novel based around a comet hitting a bunch of places on Earth. One faction of people ends up turning to cannibalism out of desperation. Every time that there's something like this, I start thinking of, well, what if this went on a little longer, if it was a little more extended, if I couldn't just drive to Boston in an hour and a half and go to a hotel, how soon would people start getting desperate? And I think we've seen that, right? I mean, we've seen with Katrina that it can happen pretty quickly when the situation gets dire.
Oh, yeah.
It also reminded me of this email when I was on the show talking about Glenn Beck, when Glenn Beck had a show on Fox News, talking about food storage and how Mormons, if you're a Mormon, you have to have, I don't know if it's 2 weeks or a year, depending on how religious you are, of food available and such and such. When we talked about that, and I said Glenn Beck should really be revealing that a lot of this interest on his end is because of his religion, a Mormon emailed me saying, I trust the agribusiness system and such, and what about when there is some kind of interruption to the food supply? What am I going to do if I have no food stored? And I started thinking, I really hope this doesn't get bad enough where I end up agreeing with that person who emailed me, ridiculing me for ridiculing Glenn Beck for the food storage thing.
Well, if you think about it, let's see. I don't keep much food in my fridge, right?
Right.
I don't have many dry goods, canned goods. The storm hit, power went out. I mean, how long do you think you would have lasted on the food in your place if you can't get food anywhere near you?
And I can't cook anything hot because my electric stove won't work.
I mean, how long would that food and water have lasted?
I think I probably could have stretched it to a week, but it would have been pretty bad by the end of that week. I mean, I would have probably been eating, I don't know. It wouldn't have been good.
So after 2 weeks, what would you be doing?
After 2 weeks, it would be pretty bad if I was unable to leave my place or get any food. Yeah, I admit it.
Yeah.
It was also probably stupid to buy a lot of perishable stuff the day before the storm. I really didn't think the power would go out. The power's never gone out at my place.
Right. No one, I mean, they said it could be, what I heard was like 1 to 3 inches of snow.
Well, I know. I heard 8 to 12.
So everyone heard different things.
You must have been on a different internet than me.
Maybe.
Anyway,